Can you talk about showing volume in the drawing?
Volume, you mean the light and shadow effect?
I mean the depth of showing depth in the drawing.
I think I had talked about how to show shadows and how to show light previously, and that is the volume and the space. If you could look at my essays a few days ago, you will find answer for it. Any other question?
Okay. Can you talk about how to draw boundaries? Boundaries.
Boundaries? You mean the contour?
Right.
The contour of an object or of a figure is easier to see the difference if it's a sharp contour or if it's an ambiguous, fuzzy contour. Usually people think it's sharp. The contour is very sharp if the contrast of the light and the shadow is very strong, and it looks so. If you look at an arm under light, or you look at an object under strong light, the contour looks very sharp because the contrast of the light and the shadow is very, very strong. But not really if you do it in a drawing. If you make the contour really sharp, it looks like very thin. As I say it's very thin, it means like a piece of paper. It's not like a sculpture turns back. That's the difference between what you're looking at and what you are drawing with a pencil. It's almost somehow different from what you're looking at. Even though it looks very, very sharp, you need to show how it turns back. So sometimes you need to make it fuzzy. Compared to somewhere really fuzzy, for example, under the arms, it's in the shadow and the form turns back in the shadow and it looks really fuzzy and really ambiguous. What's wrong about it? Nothing wrong about it because it's in the darker area. It's in the shadows, so it's not very clear. Of course, it looks very different from the contour right under the light, but when you are drawing it, you cannot just lose it. You have to take care of it. You need to, when you start it, you may start with line drawing, right? You may make a right location of the rib cage, but as you're rendering the light and the shadow, it may disappear, it may fading away. But never forget it's there, and as time going on, it looks darker and darker and more ambiguous. But never forget it's there. It never just disappeared. It's still there. So just make sure it's dark enough. It's appropriately within the dark area. Even though there's a reflection at the edge of the ambiguous contour, make sure the reflection is not too light. It's not reflecting too much, more than the lightest light area. And you need to consider the texture of what you are depicting. For example, the texture of skin. If you're drawing the contour of the texture of the skin, it's very different as if you're drawing the contour of the hairs. For example, this may be a contour of a shoulder, right? And here is a fuzzy, ambiguous contour of the arm. This is the contour of the back. This is the contour of the rib cage. It's very weak right now. But what's the difference between the edge of the hair, you still can see, can look at it as a ball, a rounded object, but has little fur, little ball of furs, and the contour of that person's head, the hair, is very, very different. So when you're dealing with contour, you need to consider what is it, the texture of it. Never forget the final visual illusion you are expecting, how it looks, and goes that way. And sometimes you will forget the tiny skills. Not forget, you just do it without realizing it anymore. Sometimes I got lost some fuzzy, ambiguous contours until I do cross-hatching for many layers. Cross-hatchings, I lost some contour and I put them back, and I try to find it. Where is it that it already got lost, because it's getting darker and darker, and it's difficult to find a correct location of the contour. Where is it? Even though at the beginning you make something perfect, the contour, you think it's perfect now, I can do the shadows now. Not really. It's always moving. It's always changing. Even though you think it's perfect right now, but later on, you will think, oh, I need to change it a little bit again and again and again, and you never feel it's good enough. So I prefer to make a beginning contour beginning stage very gentle and very light, because I know I'm going to change it later on, because I know I'm going to feel it's not quite right later on. That's not a bad thing, even though it's frustrating sometimes, but it's a good thing, because I know I'm making progress. When I realize something is not quite right, that's telling me that I'm making progress, because I see the not mistakes. I see where it needs to be changed to be better, and that's a wonderful thing in art. Because if one day you look at your artwork and you do not see any problems anymore, you do not see any space anymore, probably you may stop growing. Not growing, you may stop to see more space in your artwork. You may need some inspiration from other people's work, or from other windows of the world to look at something else, movies, literatures, or something totally irrelevant with artwork, to get inspired, and then come back to your studio and check your work again. You may look at it very differently. And the contour, what is contour? You may say it's the outline of the object you're looking at, but really I think everywhere is contour, because the form is changing. If the form is coming upward or outward, is that the contour also? Of course, if you look at it from another angle. So when you are cutting a form, like if your pencil is a scissors, and you cut a piece of paper with these scissors to show the contour, I hope you would never forget the form inside. Within this contour, it's a rounded object, has a solid, it's a solid mass of stone, or solid mass of flesh, if it's a living thing. It's very important to remember contour is not a outline, not a definitely correct thing of the outline. Never forget what's going on within it, and never forget it's changing. It's easier to understand if you ever trained in a figure drawing studio classroom and you look at a figure from 10 different angles and you do 10 different sketches from this model, and you will see how the contour changes gradually. You will appreciate all the different angles. You will appreciate to remember that it's not a piece of paper, it's a sculpture-like person from different angles. And a good practice is to do a small sculpture, and you will appreciate, and you may get really puzzled, really confused what is contour at all. For me, as I'm doing this drawing, the more I do it, it becomes more abstract, because it becomes left and right, darker and lighter, and clear and ambiguous. It becomes more and more abstract until I finish it and I jump out and look at it again and try to tell myself, you're not drawing a piece of paper, you're drawing a sculpture like figures or models, a group of models. It will feel very different, not contour, but how the forms turns back in space. If it's a sculpture in space, you can hug it. Your arms can go back and hug the sculpture rounded within your arms. You can go around the sculpture into the space behind it. I think that's something more difficult to depict, because while you are drawing this sculpture like models or figures, but you also want to show the space behind it. But how to draw that? Somewhere you almost feels like ignore it, but it's more crucial. You didn't pay enough attention to the space behind it, but you are drawing it all the same, and it's important. It's important all the same, because you cannot imagine a sculpture in front of a wet paper or in front of a wet wall, not in a room, in a space. It's quite different, and it's all the same for a drawing. Sometimes I'm confused what is drawing and what is sculpture, and why I imagine I'm drawing a sculpture-like person, why I use sculpture as a higher level of requirement for my own work, because it's basically drawing is trying to depict something three-dimensional on a flat piece of paper, So it's an illusion, and you're trying to make it real, but it's a trick. It's tricky. Really depends on your skill how to use the light and shadow effect to show this visual illusion. Sometimes not visual illusion, but your psychological illusion, how you feel, your imagination. some ideas are surreal, not totally real. I think that's the very interesting part of a drawing. If everything are the same, why don't you take a photograph? It's a lot faster, 1 second finished, 1 minute done. Why you still drawing? I think it could come back to very fundamental instinct of being a human drawing, because you like it or because you really love drawing. If that's what you really need to do, and you will enjoy to conquer all these difficulties and have fun while trying to learn, and have fun while working hard, and have fun to have some imagination and expectation within your work. See some strange or interesting thing from other people's work. If they talk to you through their work, you become very close friends in a way, even though you never see each other's face. That's far away from your question, the contour, you said boundary. It's an interesting word. I do not think there's any boundary in art world. I mean, there are so many boundaries, so many rules in reality life. So many visible, invisible, printed, and unspeakable rules. And art world should be a freedom land. It's a free land. Imagination and happiness and freedom. And it's okay. It's okay to do some experiments and to see what you want to see within the limitation of your art material. For me, it's pencil and drawing, maybe some relative materials, color pencil, watercolor, painting, other materials. I think it's totally fine as long as it's friendly and peaceful and not harmful for anyone else and not disturbing anyone else. It's totally okay. And today, artist has so many resources from what they learn from art history, what they learn from contemporary artist friends, what they could get from the nowadays technologies, materials, technology, computer, photographs, other materials. They may try to do interesting experiments in their artwork. All this could become contribution to the new development of today's art, and could become very wonderful contribution to the world's development. We are living in a new world, and it should be different from the period before the Renaissance, where everything limited and very, very limited. And for me, I try to control myself within the limitation range of drawing and pencil drawing on paper, but I give myself freedom to try some other similar materials. Like, for example, this one is color pencil. I want to see toned drawings, colorful drawings, but I kind of resistible to use chalk and white charcoal, because the flowers and the powders, I kind of very resistible to that. So I use color pencil to build up the tone of the drawing, and then I use my pencil to show the shadows and space in the behind. I think that's totally okay. It's still in the beginning stage of my experiment, and there's still a long way to go until it becomes very mature, very sufficient. I'll write an essay about color pencil drawings, a colorful drawing, what I see from my experiments. I think that's very nice and friendly to other art lovers who like to try this material, and that would be a contribution to the art history. About contour, if you could show the feet, you can see the pink lines, right? When I started with pink color pencil, it looks super beautiful and gentle and tender. But when I put black and white pencils on it, the pink color jumps out. It surprised me. I thought it will get darker as other areas, like the background, but it's really different when it's a single line and it jumps out. It really surprised me, and I'm not sure what to do about it right now, but I'll figure out a way to develop this method of drawing. I think it's very nice and going to be a contribute to the team of draftsmen. And I would like to communicate with other draftsmen who would like to try this method. And it's okay to contact me by email. Thank you.